Namaste, Galactic family. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Come on into this dimension. Come on into this sacred container, this sacred live. I'm so excited to be here with you all. And we have a really good show prepared for you today. We've been working together, me and my beautiful divine sister, Miss Marguerite Rigoglioso. I know those of you that have been watching the channel for a while, you know who she is. We've done quite a few videos together and have just been really practicing some sacred medicine for some time now. So I'm so excited to have you back today, back on the channel to dive into some topics that I think are really relevant in terms of what people are experiencing, and to be, super realistic about all of this and, here to help people through these times and the difficulty of the topics we're going to get into, because it's a little crazy. So yeah, we're happy you guys are here. And hey, Marguerite, how are you doing today? Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, great to be here, Indy. Thanks for having me here. And a big warm welcome to your community, all of our communities, the global community.
Yes, thank you. So let's first kind of get into, I guess, just like the overview of the topic, right? We're going
Yeah.
to go into spiritual warfare and psychic
Yeah.
attacks and um
Yeah. And setting some space for ourselves and for everybody watching, either in live or in replay, just calling on some golden light and our highest level guides and helpful ancestors
Well,
to
because we both
with us.
thought and determined that because of the sensitivity of this topic, right? And
Mhm.
because of the boot camp and the course that we're bringing forward, which is going to be so amazing, that this kind of puts us more exposed to spiritual warfare. It puts us more exposed to psychic attack.
Right.
Even just as being like the head, holding the container, holding the facilitation, holding the space for everyone else watching, that when we step up as spiritual leaders in these realms, these more challenging realms, you get the reverberation, and you can become the center point of the chaos, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like you immediately become a target. You become
Yeah.
targeted.
Yeah. Or you see it really closely to you. And what you're referring to is obviously our goddess spirit warrioress boot camp that we're doing February 1st through 4th, 2024, which we are welcoming everybody to come to, because this is about not contracting in fear, but looking at what's going on, looking at how these things manifest, and just being a ninja, just getting empowered around, all right, what are the simple and maybe more complex and interesting hygiene tools that we need
Yeah.
in order to navigate? Because if we're going to be seeing indigo into fifth dimension and beyond, if we're really developing our capacity as ascended humans, that means being more psychic. When you're more psychic, you see more. When you see more, you see the negative and the positive. And sometimes you're seeing that it's coming onto your own space in ways. Sometimes you're just seeing it in the collective. But it takes some mindset adjustment to be able to look at all that with neutrality, and not get hooked back into it or not feel like you're afraid. Fear is the biggest um, control mechanism that's used by these energies. And so, okay, notice the fear, thank it, and then just kind of put it aside a little bit and say, all right, what do we need to do now? And that's what you and I are talking about today. That's what we're talking about in the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp and so forth. This is about empowering everybody at a much, much deeper and broader level to not only handle what's going on and manage it in our own lives, but be part of this spirit cohort that's doing the work to have these things release, dissolve, be deflected, and, transform. And let me just say, I have respect for these forces. I have respect for these negative forces, okay? They are part of the duality that we're in. They are not to be trifled with. They are not to be simply dismissed. They are not to be annihilated. They're to be worked with Sophia, with wisdom. And that's what we're here to do. This is not about like projecting evil out there, and then just be like, oh, so-and-so great master, take it away. We're in this duality, and dealing and weaving in the duality is part of the initiation, you see? So all of this seeing and knowing and working with these forces, working in respectful sovereignty with these forces is part of this initiation.
Right. It brings me to the point, going off of what you're saying, is that it, for every living consciousness, whether it's higher or lower or wherever it is, like, stuck down in the Purgatory Realms, whatever it is, like, let's say it's that bad. It's still about consciousness evolution.
Yeah.
All energy, all spirit, all even entities, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to evolve their consciousness in whatever form that they're in. But yeah, there's just lower vibratory tactics in which it plays out and how it gains energy and where it knows to feed in terms to try to regenerate its own energy.
That's right. That's right. It feeds off of negativity. It feeds off negative human emotion. It feeds off of bloodshed. It feeds off of distressed sexual experiences, right?
Ooh,
All of this are food for these beings who were created somehow in the hierarchy of things in the inner dimensions, which is a whole big other topic. But we've got it now. We've got it here. We see it in many different ways. And I know that as we go on in this conversation, we're going to be talking about what are the ways that these things are manifesting that we might have just thought was my little old personal problems, or just that's the way it is on human, planet Earth. But actually, this is a function of the doings of these beings. How can we get more clear on what's really happening?
well, I think so. One thing we talked about doing coming into this sacred container in this live with everyone is we wanted to set some protections just for
Yeah.
the conversation.
Yeah.
Um, and also to kind of give you guys an experience of what, or a smaller experience of what you'll also receive in the course with us within the boot camp, because we're going to be doing the same thing, like entering the sacred space,
Yeah.
setting protection, setting shields. Again, because just even talking about this illuminates you to possible attack or infiltrate. I mean, it can. So we have to be realistic about how we approach it, and also teach that how we protect, how we shield when we're about to have these deeper discussions. Um, so is that something you want to like start by guiding and
Yeah.
leading, kind of setting, and I
Yeah.
can come in afterwards?
I just mentioned it a little bit earlier, and I think we'll just go more deeply into it. I'm just inviting everybody listening or watching, wherever it is, just to feel your breath, to feel your body, your toes, your fingertips, and just feel your excitement about, wow, this is an actually fascinating topic, like that's why people watch horror movies, because, they're like irresistibly drawn. They're curious. We're all curious about each other. The light is curious about the dark is curious about the light. So we're just calling in something called golden light, which is one of those tools in the universe that is both a vibration that both protects you and cloaks you. And it also raises your vibration, it elevates you. So just see yourself surrounded in golden light and feel yourself connected through your root chakra, through a cord that you send deep into the soil. You're grounded into Mother Earth. And feel that at the great central sun level of the cosmos, Mother Divine is sending a beam of crystal and diamond white light down through the cosmos and through your chakras down to below your feet and into your auric field. And we're calling upon our greatest allies and protectors in this. In particular, I like to call upon Yeshua, Blessed Mother Mary, Magdalene, Betala, the great protector being who, according to Sri Kaleshwar of India, worked with Jesus and helped him to deal with these negative energies that they were continually encountering in a big way. And we just invite these beings to be around us in a circle, each of us individually, all of us collectively. And we declare that this space is safe and sovereign. And we command that any beings that do not serve our greatest good or would cause us harm or suffering in any way are escorted now outside of this space permanently. And so it is.
And so it is, and so it shall be. And I just want to tune in with this as well, just to continue to merge the container as well between the conversation between me and Marguerite today, to just make sure that this shared and merged container is sealed and protected in divine golden light. Okay, and I'm just working through the connection points of the shared container and then all the connection points to everybody that's watching today to also shield and protect their fields as well.
Mhm.
Okay, and I'm just collapsing down any open portals or wormholes, any lower dimensions, any lower astral fields, any energy structures open to negative entities or infiltration, hijacking, siphoning, collapsing down any and all psychic looking glass technology, and any outer planetary alien negative tech. Okay, and just setting these shields all the way around me and Marguerite and everyone watching today going into the 24th dimension. So I'm going and placing Guardian Diamond, Sapphire, Emerald, and Ruby shields up in the 24th dimension, above and below, in the fronts and in the backs as shields and crests. Okay, and just making sure that this is fully sealed, fully protected, and just making sure that we have the proper space to tap into our crystal bodies and really work through the dynamicism of this psychic intel. So we're in a safe place because me and you have to be at the head, right? We have to be the leaders. We have to be the pioneers of strength. We have to be the pillars. So it's important that we're standing upright and shielded, definitely. So
Yeah.
Thanks for bringing that in. Ooh, that felt good to bring that in together.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the greatest protections is humility, and reckoning with your own shadow side, which I know that both you and I have done a lot of. And because the more you know, like, what are your own foibles or weak spots or even like negative tendencies, the more you get clear on that, the more you clear that karma, and you're like, wow, I was really a so-and-so in that life or the other life, or I can see I have these qualities in this life. The more you're aware of that, the less you're going to, the more whole you are, and the less you're going to project evil outside of you. And you're more like a self-contained clearing mechanism. And the more you're in alignment for your ascension. Because whenever we start getting high and mighty, about anything, be it the negative side, which can happen when we get into that warrior spirit, like, I don't want to, I'm so mad about this and that, and I just want to that. You have to really temper that warrior energy. And that's what we're going to be doing in the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp, right? Because we're moving into a new level of sophistication with all of this, where you're the inner warrior. Like, that's what it's about. And again, the more you're in touch with what's your own wounding, as well as what's your own like troublesome tendencies, then you're working out good and evil within yourself. And the more you work out good and evil within yourself, the more you become this sort of sovereign vessel. So it's very personal, as well as being larger shamanic, galactic, priestess level stuff.
Yeah. And I can agree with that, like getting and riding your horse, like your warrioress horse, with humility and humility, vulnerability, really wearing your humanness on your heart and on your sleeve. Um, being as personable as possible, because that's really how you can connect with people. And
Yeah.
it's really about helping others
Yeah.
not drowned in the darkness and giving people the tools. I mean, this is stuff that's been taken from us as our birthright.
Right.
We're trying to reclaim.
Right.
So it's like we know we have a duty to this because we have achieved certain levels of initiation and experience and Sophia wisdom, which did the show with Sethicus the other day, and he told me I was the warrioress of wisdom, that those codes were going to be coming in for me. And I was like, oh, it felt so in alignment, so resonated at my core. And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
I always find that when we ask for wisdom, we are asking for the experiences that are going to give it to us. That can take us through those challenging realms again.
Yeah.
So we have to be prepared in our knowing
Yeah.
of where we stand, knowing who you are, being very clear to that in terms of your foundation.
Yeah. And I know you and I have been through quite a bit. You know, you've been through numbers of dark nights that were initiations. I have as well. You know, we're moving into the years of wisdom, um, and elderhood, if you will, and that brings a certain stability as well. And yeah, just a kind of maturity as to what's going on. And also what we're doing in the boot camp, as well as what we're talking about here, is a level of sophistication of being able to see how the games can go on, like just how wily these forces can be. And you need to be able to spot it. Okay. So for
Yeah.
example, I have received a communication from someone who I think is very well meaning, but is not identifying themselves, discrediting another spiritual person. And um, what I can see is connected in there is the energy of division and strife that these larger forces can hook into people and get them all going and get them all righteous, like, yeah, get all mad at that person and start saying bad things. And what they want is they want to bust up the spirit community because they love to bust up spiritual groups. They love to bust up spiritual friendships. They love to, bust up all these different things. And that's something I started experiencing firsthand years ago. And then when I took a training with Carl Mollison, and he really very clearly articulated that, it was like, oh my God, now I have the exact concepts and understandings to really get it and catch it when it's happening and be able to be compassionate toward the person who's perpetrating it, not allow myself to get hooked into it and start playing in and, with all these forces. And so, that's just one example, right? And I don't know, Indy, if you wanted to share anything from your own experience in like having to be deft around what can go on to try to hook us
Yeah.
into negativity.
I think overall I've come to the realization that it's in a state of constant. It's always playing out around us 24/7. We just fall unconscious to the depth of it because honestly, we don't consciously hold the full capacity to decode the astral on all of its realms, higher, lower, middle grade, whatever. Um, People barely have the ability to decode what's going on in the lucid. And so um it's it's just as active as if you went to, you know, like Disneyland or like a baseball game, like how much chaos and interaction that's happening. That's exactly what's playing out between connection, communication, manifestation, this psychotronic spiritual warfare, the mind control, the MK Ultra, the secret, dark forces, the dark military, like that. Like there's so many dimensional realms and ways in which things are
Yeah,
being generated, created, intentions,
right.
potential, um, what's going on. And there's certain areas of the earth that's more active in spiritual warfare. There's certain areas in the astral, there's certain timelines, there's certain reoccurring timelines. There is um, just greater planetary ascension cycle timelines that hold the cap predominantly over humanity, like the Atlantean timeline and the karmic residue in which we're all clearing as a collective, and the transcendence of this. This is actually where we have to focus to help pull people out of where we're ultimately hooked and branded, and sealed into a warfare system.
That's
I
right.
guess start getting all serious. Here comes my goddess,
No,
like coming
no,
to.
but seriously, no, but that's true. And then just bringing it also back to the very personal, the first thing to have been divided, that created problems for humanity was the division of the human body into two sexes when it was one conjoined sex, and then the creation of strife and warfare between the male and the female.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of difficulty of men and women being able to get along, have
Mhm.
harmonious, lasting relationships, this and that. That, on a very personal level, is an example of a psychic attack that has been on the planet for quite some time and might look like just your personal problems or that person's little old alcoholism, but it's part of a whole bigger thing. And incidentally, addictions and things like that, as I understand it, are all, if not caused by, they are activated and kept in motion by negative entities.
Yes.
All addictions, whatever it is, from shopping, all the way to whatever it is. And so,
Absolutely.
understanding the level of, that with our addictions, with our compulsions, with um, our loopings, our mind loopings, like all of this is part of what has been set on the human planet. And we just think of it as the human condition. And it's like, well, no,
Mhm.
we're starting to awaken to, like, hey, life isn't supposed to be this hard on the earth. This was originally an Eden realm. What does that mean? How did
Mhm.
it come, degenerate from there?
Yeah.
What are we in the midst of in this Kali Yuga? We're at the nadir, the bottom point of all of this suffering, and it's negative energy generated. So it's very important that we awaken to be able to see that and have that concept. And just then we are tooled and empowered to work with it in different ways.
Yes, it had me going. I was going in
I
cycles there
know,
just
in
with
a
you
million
talking.
fractalized, I can see. Yes, exactly.
Um, yeah, we're definitely at a point where I think we veered off the path of our true understanding and connection to God, and
Yeah,
however which one sees that, whether source, creator, the divine.
yeah,
Some people don't like to say the word God, and I get it. Some people it's the higher self, and and it's sometimes it's everything. It's not just one
yeah.
thing, but it's obviously everything. But we've deviated away from, I know this sounds a little crazy, but obedience, because really when we think about the addictions and the entities that are overcoming, it's about discipline, isn't it? Like getting back to discipline to purify,
That's right.
because
Discipline
the
to purify and discipline to connect. Connect back with source light, creator, the Pneuma spirit, the Sophia spirit within us.
we got a lot of hearts going on that one in the
Yay.
chat.
Because love is
Thanks, guys.
ultimately, the greatest protector. And there are steps that we need to get there to be in that perpetual state of love. And if you fall out of a state of love, well, you better have a tool or two handy, to
Yeah.
handle
Yes.
what's
Yes.
going on.
Because I really think the creator wants us all to be at peace. It
Yeah.
wants us to know peace. Peace is the
Yeah.
point of it all, is to find
Yeah.
peace and to be at harmony, to be centered.
That's
Um,
right.
but also to be the warrior, because we have to, it's all about our mind. It's all about our mental, ability. So it's about our perspective and how we approach our challenges. And if you want to be strong spiritually and you want to be a warrior, you gotta be working on purification, because if you have any addictions whatsoever, even if it's shopping, like, okay, but for most of us in other ways, I mean, especially here in the States where drugs and alcohol are literally on every freaking corner and anywhere you look, like, I don't know very many people who can't say that they haven't dabbled in something at some point. Like, um, that is definitely weakening your light body. It's weakening your shields. It's weakening your spiritual immune system.
That's right. We're not even talking about morality here, you know. We are just literally talking about energetics. And
Yes.
and yes, you can use sacred medicines, you know, plant-based ones with intention and in the right way, or you could get hooked in and addicted by it. You could have an addiction being come right in. You know, and I talk about that a lot in my Sacred Feminine Plant Medicine Academy, where cannabis has been both. It's like a Sophianic dragon opener, seer tool, aid, ally. And it is something that these addiction entities can get hooked right in,
Yes.
can level our young men and women and just make them comatose on the couch, having lost all their will, their creativity, and so forth. So it's things are afoot all over the place. Okay. So we're dealing with these energies. So how do we, maybe let's talk about, okay, how do we work with this? You know, like at the beginning, you were having these tools of closing down this and that. We were working with golden light. These are all types of things that we're going to be going into more deeply in the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp. What else, Indy? What else can we say about this? What do we do? How do we work with this?
Well, I want to talk all about how we work with it. I think that's going to be a really important point that we're going to come around to. I kind of wanted to backtrack just a little bit.
Good.
Um, there was something I put together a while ago, in 2020, November 11th. It was the Atlantean core grid template, the core of Saturn and the Black Tesseract cube.
Mhm.
And for a while at that time, I was seeing an inner Earth structural core based architecture that was the Tesseract Black Cube.
Mm.
And it had outer rings of Marduk, Maldek, um, and
Yeah.
there was another one, a mental body. But it was housing the timelines to run in the Earth, such as the Holocaust, the genocides, the
Yeah.
forest breeder programs, the hybridization programs, the fall of
Mm.
man, all of the invasions. So when we talk about spiritual warfare and just why we're dealing with it on a planetary level, I think it comes back to planetary warfare and planetary host and hijacking, planetary soul possession, planetary corruption of the universal tree of life and the reversal energies and the corruption of the flower of life geometries. It's really to distort the organic, spiritual, holographic geometry structures and principles inside the earth. So when we think about like what we're dealing with on a bigger level, this is where things like the grid worker service comes into play, because we start to take accountability and responsibility for what's happening on a planetary level and trying to restore the integral fields of the Earth's core.
Yeah.
But then breaking that back down to how we're dealing with it interpersonally,
That's
all
right.
of that. But so to have the broader idea, like, um, this isn't just you, this isn't just your own shadow work. And no, you're not completely crazy. And the fact that the spiritual attacks keep continuing to happen, no matter like what you do. No, like it's to be expected at this point. And I think that's been my whole point, is
Mm.
getting back to the realisticness of this is actually what we live in. We live on a spiritual battlefield plane. The third dimension is where it's triangulation. It is the point of triangulation where um triangulation is usually harder energies. And so is like the square or whatever, the fourth dimension.
Yeah.
But the third dimension is where it manifests into the physical. So yeah, the depth in what we see is only like a spectrum of it. Again, I was talking about how deep it goes into the astral and everything that's playing out psychotronically in all dimensions. But to understand, that the vastness of the global war, I mean, when we support war on the planet, when we support Gaza and Israel, when we support Ukraine and Russia and China and all this stuff, people have to understand there's spheres within consciousness, within planes that generate to that core Saturn timeline, that generate to the Black Tesseract cube, to the spike matrix in which controls the negativity points on the planet.
Yeah.
And that's all it's a big deal, right? Like it's it's complex. It's super complex, but so that's another thing to be aware of. Like we have to be conscious of what we support, what we promote, um, how warfare continues to send rips and tears into the space-time continuum for us all to tap
Especially
into.
when they do nuclear. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And
Okay.
that's nuclear cataclysms, Fukushima, what was the other one? Chernobyl. I mean, these are
Yeah.
all points on the earth where entities
Came in
can come in and
because
continue to use those systems.
they
Yeah.
split the atom right there, and they created a whole big like tunnel for all these beings to come in. Absolutely
Yes,
100% agree
yes.
with you. And I'm so glad our planet is blessed to have people like you, Lisa Renee, Asha Anna Dean, our other sisters, Z, everybody, and brothers who are seeing at this level. Like this is new, right? Deeper, broader, more sophisticated than ever. Like the dimensional ability to see has grown since
Yes.
I was a kid,
Yes.
And what I'd like to say to everybody watching and listening is that if you're starting to feel overwhelmed, you can just come right back and focus on your inner child and trauma work. Because one of the best things that has been developed on this planet to ultimately deal with what you and I are talking about here is the understanding of the existence of trauma, how it happens, even on psychological levels. And you and I are talking more even on entity and interdimensional levels, but how it even goes on psychological levels, familial levels.
Mm-hmm.
And by you doing your inner child work, you are contributing to the healing of all of this, because as you develop your resilience, your ability to not get hooked psychologically, your self-love, your self-healing around the trauma, you start releasing these grids, for yourself, for your loved ones, for your
Mm-hmm.
family. You are doing psychic release work. So you could do it at the very deep personal level. You can do it at this broader galactic in a way, oracle level, and or both, which is I think what a lot of people are doing. And people from both sides are kind of coming into the center like, all right, how does trauma and psychological therapy healing work meet, all of these things that are being seen? Because that's what we're all going to need to get together and weave together in order for this true healing and this liberation of the planet to happen.
Yeah. Yes. There's so much that goes into all of this. And even as you say that, I'm holding the vision to like the new earth, like the new earth prophecy. I'm just like holding space for that 24/7 all the time. Because I
Yeah.
know I feel like there's only so many people on the planet where it's like literally their mission is just to hold those gateways open for people. That's
Yeah.
what they came here to do. And they're parts of the 144, they're extensions of the 144,
Right.
wherever they are in their graduation of those um soul contracts. And yeah, it's so important that we
Yeah.
do this work. So, well, I know one thing you wanted to get into is like, what about us? Like,
I
what
was
about,
just going
like,
to go
yeah,
there. We're
yeah.
totally on the same. I was going to ask you that question. Like, okay, how did you get started? How did you, what level did you come in on the planet with? Indy? And then what initiations or hell experiences did you have to accelerate you? And how do you get your information? Because, I talk about you in my classes and things, and that this is coming up, this Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp, and people are like, how does she know what she knows? And, I try to fill in a little bit, but tell us, because this is critical to
Mhm.
people understanding who we are, where we're coming from. So yeah, let's hear from you on that.
Well, thanks so much. I'm excited to share it, honestly, because it's fun to talk about these things more so now. I think I used to be nervous to talk about these things a little bit, but um, I was definitely activated as a child looking back on it. I was always super sensitive, intuitive, empathic. Um, yeah, I remember taking on illnesses of other people and genuinely believing that they were mine. And my mom would get so annoyed with it. I remember that. Just because she would be taking me to the doctor for stuff. I mean, you know what I mean? And so I couldn't tell the difference. I do know when I was a kid, I seen angels, and I think this is why
Oh,
my name Indigo Angel, like everything comes back to me, like why I got to the point that I got to. Because I remember seeing them, and then I remember them being with me too. And I remember performing for cosmic beings when I was a kid too. I remember I would put on shows for them, like they were my audience, and I knew they were watching, but I just knew that I had to do this stuff. It's weird.
it's so great.
But yeah, you don't know what that is when you're a kid, like I didn't have the explanation for it, but it all came through my awakening, which I had similar experience like everyone else, dark night of the soul, getting to a very detrimental breaking point, making the choice to give up and also exit and leave this world. I mean, and so it's kind of like source, spirit, the universe, my guides, they were like, nope, sorry, we're going to
Come back, little
rehabilitate you.
Sheba.
Yeah, we're going to
Yeah.
rehabilitate you. Um, and then I told you I gave up relationships for a lot of years as well, and just focused on my study, my research, my development, um, creating art, creating my own activations. My soul and the design of who I'm becoming became like my soul like purpose to craft that being. Like that's been my joy. Like that's been what's been fun for me. And I've taken it on as my mission. Like it's my personal mission to design and develop myself. Even to the point that I told you, I feel like as a spiritual leader, walking in a community, that there is not some sort of recognition system for it. It's not like there is I can get some certificate of mastery. I mean, you can get certificates, but something that's so credible that would put me at, this doctorate level or whatever, in this field. Like it's just been about claiming it through my own research, through my own studies, through
Yeah.
following the paths of the teachers and the way showers that have come before me as well, that I align with their message. Um, and then being creative within that myself, and then also dedicating, as I developed within that, more time and effort towards the development of my mind and my capabilities psychically, which is a
Right.
study and a technology all
So
within
tell us
itself.
about this. Like, how do you get your information? Do you just get downpours? Do you sit at a meditation table? What do you do?
All of it,
Yeah.
all of it. Yeah, I'm constantly getting downloads. Like I think many other people, like water activates that for me. So like shower time, I take a notebook in the shower with me. Yeah, I have a notebook. I'll like, so if I'm showering and I have something, stop and write it down. Like it's um always keeping that with me, meditating, but also researching and writing, like using the tools to put everything in the mind together and the words together is the process of anchoring it into this dimension, which
Yeah.
is a huge important part of the process that I think a lot of people want to get to be honest, because a lot of people ask me, how do I make this happen? How do I become this person I want to become? I have all these ideas and thoughts. Well, you have to anchor it in. Now you have to do that part,
Yeah.
which is a lot of work and dedication. And being committed to the belief of who you are and what you're becoming. And again, claiming that for yourself, so,
That's that's
yeah.
amazing. But you know, the level of things that you're teaching about that you're receiving, it's astounding. So I'd like to be a fly on the wall of your mind, you know, just seeing these things come in, you know, or emerge out of your thought body, you know, this knowledge of these structures and everything you're describing about dimensions and
There
so forth.
was some key points. I feel like I've had guides in the astral. One of them was Nostradamus.
Okay.
I mean, where they've told me to look at certain things, like with the
Yeah.
grid work. That was something that I picked up with connecting to his energy signature, was to study maps, to study cartography. So there's like certain things that you can piece together that will help expand the vision, right?
That's right. It'll be like, boop, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's being tuned into all aspects of mind, and it's kind of like someone who works out at the gym, right? I work out my brain. And I know you do too, Marguerite. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, we have that in common.
Yeah.
So much. But drop it down in the comments if you guys like to work out your brain too, if you love your brain. It's like the coolest thing ever, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. And if you're seeing any comments or questions or anything, we're welcoming those about us or about this work or the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp or anything like that, or psychic attack, spirit warfare. We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah, we
Um,
have a couple coming in. A lot of people saying hello. And I think the main one here is someone wanting to know how they shield while dreaming. So how do
okay.
they protect in the lucid and the astral? I think we're gonna get to that point a little bit more too. Marguerite, I want to know if you wanted to share your story a little bit too, just
Yes,
kind of how you
yes,
got here.
yes. And you know what I'll say is that dream time protection is one of the modules that I do in my Protection for Spirit Workers course. That's a bonus when you join the Goddess Spirit Warrioress boot camp. So, you know, you'll get it all right in there. There are some simple techniques at nighttime that you can do that I do always every night
Yeah,
and morning,
that's
you know.
awesome.
So yeah, so that's in there. So if we don't get to details today, you know, that information is available to you. So about me, I think I came in denser than you. I was very empathic. You know, I would feel other people's feelings and pain, but it wasn't like I was having, you know, I was not mediumistic or, you know, having astral encounters or whatever. Um, except maybe being abducted. That is a strong possibility, but which could have initiated me. Like if that did indeed happen,
Yeah,
those are always initiations, even if you don't remember them, they stretch open your psychic abilities. That's like the
yeah,
benefit that they know they're taking the risk giving you by having those abduction experiences. So, but I just always had this strong desire to quote help people. So I came into this life, and that would be my little phrase. What do you want to do when you grow up? I want to help people. Like I literally was one of those people. So that was my mission, you know, my mission. And then various things along the way. I mean, a mother dying when you're 10 introduces you to the death realms. So I already was starting to go into the death mysteries. What is behind? Where did that soul go? What's on the other side of the veil, right? On some level, that was working. I had a lot of personal trauma, familial experiences that happened that were initiations. And I think I was releasing a lot of karma from other lifetimes. See, that was part of my humbling, the karmic amends making and the realization of certain characteristics that I had. And why did I have that? Wow, you know, I was like an imperious queen in another
mhm,
life, including reptilian ones. And, you know, I started having these realizations. So I had a lot of intuition started growing and synchronicity started growing as I became into my 20s and 30s. That was like a big teacher and a big way shower for me. Synchronicities would happen and I'd be like, holy cow.
Mm.
So, but then, also at some point I got introduced to plant medicine when I was in my late 30s. So that gave me the turbo experience of having my consciousness opened. But unlike some people who would have like, this la da da heavenly experience, I'd be in the underworld every single time. I mean, it was kind of a nightmare,
Yeah.
which was part of the karmic amends making and the education. I got a real strong education into the underworld, which I think is why I'm with you teaching something like this and have taught this at various other times.
Yeah.
Um, and then I did go to psychic training for 3 years in the Bay Area in California. And then I did do Carl Mollison's course on entity release work. And I developed my own, using my psychic skill training meditation technique, I developed my own ability to open my oracle channel in meditation. And then that's what I started teaching to other people in my oracle training. And I would practice at that a lot. And like you, I was always a researcher. So I would use my left brain, if you will, to gather all this information, and it would pop me open to this interdimensional understanding. And that has continued to this day. I just feel very blessed to have that aspect of myself. That's part of the Sophia mind. And it's just going on and on with experience, with meditations, with working with cacao, being in
Yeah.
open states of consciousness, right? And so a lot of times, though, I remember there was a point where it stopped being that I had to go into meditation to get the information, but it was like, boom, I'll be in the middle of teaching, and wow, things are coming through me that I didn't even plan on and that are beyond my pay grade to know. And then it was just happening more and more and more, like walking around with the years. Shoo, this downpour, or this just knowing, like I'll read something and I'll know. I'll see something in the so-called news, I'll know, right? So it's all about us developing our knowing, our seeing.
And the thing with you too is you have really good mental clarity.
Mhm.
Good mental clarity and good ability to communicate, what's going on in the mind,
Yeah.
and then wrap it around in deeper levels of explanation and more clarity. It's a gift. It actually is a gift. Like
Yes.
this is a gift.
You have a way
Yeah.
with words, right?
Yes.
And I have a way
Yes.
with words. So these are gifts.
What
And
is
some
your life path
people,
number, by the way, if you don't mind sharing?
um, how is that determined? Is it like the year of your birth or something like that?
Yeah, life path number, your birth date. Yeah.
I
Do
think it ended up being a 5, which is the Hierophant or something like that.
Mine's a 5 too.
Okay. So
I was just thinking,
the
yeah, maybe you have the
Hierophant,
same life path as me because 5 seem to
right?
have the gift of communication.
Right. And it's like that kingly Hierophant spirit king who's also a little dark, has had some lifetimes that are controlling and negative, so all that, but yeah, like you working with Nostradamus, right? At times I would feel that I was working with Merlin, or the Merlin that we know of from the Arthurian times, and he would teach me a lot about time magic.
Mm,
um, but again, also, Lady Cannabis Asterion, she's been a big opener, a big teacher, allowing a lot of information to come through me, only working ever ceremonially. I've never used it recreationally, and will not in this lifetime. Um, but I think Merlin, and then a lot of the goddesses came in.
yeah.
Neith, Neith came in big time toward the beginning of my cannabis journeys, that ancient goddess of Africa that we're going to be talking about in this Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp. I'm going to be talking about her in connection with these Atlantean Amazons, because who was this goddess Neith,
Yeah.
who became quote unquote Athena? And
Mhm. And I
so,
can't wait for that. I have to tell you, everyone who's watching, the course alone is worth signing up for
yeah,
just to dive into this. I can tell you guys wholeheartedly that I don't think there's any other woman on this planet, and this is why I know you. This is why I'm connected to you, that has more study and more insight and more information when it comes to the goddesses of antiquity of North Africa which
Yeah.
is the birthplace of it all.
Yeah.
I mean, you've
Yeah.
been a teacher and a way shower for me, guiding me through both of my trips, honestly.
Yeah.
Rome with Medusa, North Africa with Teen Hinan. I would have not had anywhere else to look to find even the literature resources that you can provide on this stuff. It's like, ah, you're like it's a treasure.
Oh,
It's just incredible. And so I know that, yeah, we got a couple people in the chat that actually signed up for the course. Evie's
blessed
here.
be.
Yeah, Evie, welcome, sister.
Yeah.
Um, and everyone else watching, of course. But yeah, it's gonna be so good. I can't wait. I
Yeah.
can't wait to just absorb this part of it that you're gonna bring because yeah, I'm so connected to Neith.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
connected to even Athena, Medusa.
I
I
know the
mean, even though I'm
cross.
not always in harmony with my relationships with them, but
Yes, exactly.
yeah.
Well, I can't wait either, Indy, because what's been happening since I did a lot of that academic research, which a lot of it is in my first two books, The Cult of Divine Birth in Ancient Greece, and then the second one, Virgin Mother Goddesses of Antiquity, if you want like the mother loads on details of all that. But I'm having to reconfigure all of these presentations that I've done for us,
Yeah.
also adding the next layer of what like our dear sister Maya Nartumid has brought forth and recently published on her Blue Temple Rising, I think. I mean, that is just getting it all into a whole other level. Plus, you know that I'm going to be working in the cannabis realm, the lady cannabis realm, prior to get further information because we're going up, we're going up the
Mhm.
levels here about
Mhm.
what these Amazons were really all about, how
Yeah.
this relates to us today, you know, where we were, where we've been, and where we're going. It's critical information because it really does all tie into Atlantis, which is now, you know, all these Atlantean timelines. We're living it. We're living the weirdness of Atlantis. And and yeah, I
And
was
having to clear those programs of Atlantis because they're heavy, and this is what holds us back so
exactly we
much.
there's so much clearing, you know, that is needed. And yeah, I bless the California Institute of Integral Studies, the Women's Spirituality Program, and the souls of the two who just left the planet 2 weeks from each other that headed that Women's Spirituality Program, Mara Keller and Lucia Chiavala Birnbaum, two of my greatest mentors. Amazingly, they just left the planet. And they were helping me to understand all this stuff on mystical ways as well, in mystical ways as well as academic ways. So, yeah, I'm here, you know, I'm here to help bring this forth. And the thing that I love is the experience, like I think you start talking in your classes and you know you're transmitting a lot of information and you can see the light bulbs going off with people, whether
Yeah.
they've been students or not, you know, whether they've gone to school or not, it doesn't matter. It's just activating everybody into their deeper levels of knowing. And that's why I'm excited about this journey that we're doing together here, this collaboration.
Yeah. Well, we both know the immensity and the transformativeness of the group containers.
Yeah.
They're so sacred. There's so much camaraderie. There's so much unity building. There's so much network building. Um, And they say the people that are going to be the most evolutionary, they're working in collaboration versus competition. And that's what we try to bring in is like the network of support that fabrics us together.
Right.
And because of that, we have shared hearts and we have shared minds, we have shared souls experiences. And it's not anything you can actually put value on because it's life transformational.
Yeah.
Like you will always come back to the point of that container at some point, and you're reconnecting things back in as a source that you can actually draw energy out of
Yeah.
continually. Like it's I don't want to use the term a food source, but it's an empowerment generator.
Yeah. It's like the well that keeps on delivering water, you know?
Yes.
Yes, it's so exciting. And to me, what I love about teaching and sharing is that it's like giving people the fishing rod so they can go do fish and be their own priestesses and priests do their own ministries. And we are inviting sacred males to this course who are interested in these female feminine angles, these warrior histories,
Yeah.
as well as the
Yeah.
tools, which, transcend gender, of course. But we've got like this female kind of angle. So any man who is
Yeah.
interested in that is definitely warmly welcome. But I love like having giving people the fishing rod so they can hive off and create and develop their own ministries, because that's really what it's all about. And whatever way the ministry looks like, whether it's as a householder raising kids, or your garden, or just being a nice person at the post office, or whether it's something
Yeah.
more elaborate and public, right? Ministry looks different according to each person's desires, their karma, and their life path, and all that. So yeah, I love, this is my way of being a mother.
Yes. Oh yeah. I feel that. Well, and this is where we start to touch on, Marguerite, the re-rise of the matriarchy,
Yeah.
because this is what we are. We are so empowered, we're so divine, we're so in our strength that we have the ability to span our wings and hold the space and the community for others.
Yeah.
And on so many levels, that includes the masculine, it includes the children of the world, it includes the women, it includes everybody. Like our hearts are open in strength and like I as much as I'm shielded, I'm not shielded at the
Yeah.
same time, because I've managed to master the balance and the dance of the attainment of the need and the design of both, I guess, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we know it's our duty. We know where we
Yeah.
stand.
It's our
We know what
duty.
we stand for. Yeah.
And what I want to address is, in case anyone out there is like starting to feel jealous, like, oh, these two are special. Well, Indigo had a video a while ago about how this is a lifestyle and a ministry, and there's a lot that you deal with, right? Walk a mile in Marguerite's blue suede boots from Italy before
Mine are
getting
red.
all nervous about comparing yourself, because we've paid the
Oh,
price
oh yeah.
of doing this work. It is not for the faint of heart. We've given up certain human experiences in this lifetime at different phases in our life. And it is a calling and a ministry. We came in like, okay, we're going to do a whole bunch of this work. And then at some point, we hope there's going to be a little bit of Eden, experience for us in this or another lifetime. Not that it's been like all drudgery or anything like that. You
Mhm.
do have to kind of co-create your own Eden. But this is work. This is a lot of work.
Yeah. It's a lot of generating good karma.
Yeah, I
I think
hope.
when we forget about being able to see the reflection of that. Yeah. As long as
Yeah,
I think that's outweighing our imprint here, our heaviness here.
yeah,
Yeah. The more light we can bring and the more light we hold in our heart.
yeah,
Um, One thing I want to touch on real quick, because I just want to tap into it just a tiny bit, is the Amazons. Why are we
mhm,
drawing the inspiration from this in the first place? Why do they matter in history? You
right,
know,
right. And
what's your spindle on it?
let's mention here, Indy, that next Friday, the 26th of January, 2024, as we are filming this, on my Bridging Dimensions show on the Marguerite Rigoglioso YouTube channel, Indigo and I will again be talking about the Amazons and matriarchy. So that will be a larger show to give you a taste of what's in the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp on that angle of it. Because this bootcamp kind of brings together the tools and techniques with this kind of intergalactic revised Earth history thing
Mhm.
that we're doing. Also, woven around it is the Sophia Christ warrior mission, right? So, which is not really different or at odds with any of these things, but it's just bringing in these different angles. So, just briefly, the Amazon warriors, in my lifetime have gone from being a fictional thing in cartoons to yes,
Wonder
I was
Woman.
totally drawn to this research. Like, who are these women? What was this all about? Going deep into the books and all of this. And then teasing out whatever I could and understanding and offering, unearthing, new levels of who they are, who they were, what they worked with spiritually. And now this other layering that's happening through the information you're getting and Maya and that I'm getting in my medicine states. So it's like, wow,
Mhm.
what was first cartoon fiction, then kind of frozen in time, tumbled down columns type of history to man-hating women who
Mm.
marched on Greece, and it's a good thing they died,
Yes,
to
yes.
now, like, who were they really? Like, we're all revising everything as we understand. Who were these women really?
Is
Why
it just
were they?
me, or do you think Greece was just so fascinated that they wanted to take and just manipulate all the stories, really? I think it's comes back to Greece, maybe
Well,
painting them in certain lights.
it goes back to any of the major civilizations have been painting the feminine in a distorted way because they've all been part of this Anunnaki takeover. The further we got from Lemuria and moved into Atlantis, the further we moved from Atlantis to Egypt, then to Greece, then to Rome, the more the Anunnaki influence was coming to bear, the more we were hiding all of these histories, distorting them,
Yes.
uh, obscuring the women's spiritual power in all of this, So we're going to be looking at what is the warrior, what is that warrior woman of antiquity? Where were they? What were they doing? What was great about them? What was not so great about them? How did they kind of get into, three-dimensional problems? And what can we reclaim about this female warrioress spirit for ourselves that we need for this inner weaving?
The more I get into it, the more that I see that the birth of the Amazons in some way was the birth of equality between men and women. It was kind of, it seemed as if it was a way to generate the power of the woman to rise up and to meet the man and his duties and responsibilities, which for the men it was war. And so the women would rise up and ride the horses next to them, ride their with their men into battle. Like it wasn't about betrayal of the men and women, which again is the inversion that came in,
That's right.
the takeover. That is obviously at the core of spiritual warfare. You brought it up in the beginning as we came into the room. I think everyone here knows watching the gender disturbances and role imbalances and just loss of wisdom around us meeting each other, and standing strong. Again, because of all the agendas we're up against and the mind programming and mind control and just never ending stuff we're bombarded with, like to even summarize it, it's like you can't, it's just so big.
Right.
um but yeah, I think the Amazons brought back they resurrected something. It
Yes. And part of it, you know what, Indy, when I always tune into it, it's like they had to take over the warrior failure of the men. The men started failing in their duty to protect the matriarchy, women, the Grail lineages, and so forth. They started getting overtaken by these Anunnaki forces. And so then the women were like, oh my God, we're going to have to do the man's work now. And so you had these female warriors that arose,
Mhm.
but then they got taken into the same thing because
Well, they turn
whenever,
it back into a blame game of,
yeah,
oh, well, you mated with and you hybridized with Anunnaki, so it's your fault because you breeded it, you created it. I've seen that argument get thrown
yeah,
back too.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah. And
it's
we're
it's
gonna look at some of these things like their reproductive plans and processes. It's very interesting, and how divine conception comes into all that.
yes. So we got a lot to unfold and unpack with
We
this,
do.
but I think it's going to be so good. We did have a couple. a question, Marguerite. Let
Yeah.
me find this one. Julia Johansson says, any recommendations what to do with an entity that keeps coming back? I feel it going back and forth from root to throat to mouth. It's an aggressive and sticking, swirling energy. Much love from Sweden.
Blessed be.
You have my initial thought with this is you have to understand where the entity is coming from,
Yeah.
what it wants from you,
Yeah.
who is it attached to, who is it attached from. Like, you kind of have to start breaking it down, because these entities, yes, you can be a victim of mass casualty entity infiltration. That's happening on a collective level, like, all the
Yeah.
time. Like, talk about the whole year of 2023.
Oh my
But
God.
also I think they come in through, I mean, relationships is a big one. You have to start looking at your relationships, who you're entangled with, the
Yeah.
energy that's being projected, what reversals the people around you might be carrying.
Yeah.
You have to really look at, because that's such a huge way in which our shields go down, and we can't be cautious completely or fully conscious of what's infiltrating us from other people. Also, intimate relationships. I mean, especially if you have a past history of a lot of toxic relationships, you can have incubuses and succubus energy,
Right.
sexual astral attacks.
Yeah.
Um,
And what I would say, adding to what you're saying, is when it's something this fierce, ongoing, it's probably karmic, like you're meeting up with an entity, an energy that you were caught up with uh, in one or more past lives. You may have perpetrated some kind of negative magic and drawn it to you, or you may have sort of co-created it as an egregore. Um, and you may have had it do your bidding in other lives, or it could be that it's coming from someone that you harmed, and this thing wants attention, it wants healing, but the ultimate thing is it wants your karmic clearing, your karmic awakening to what happened, to what this is, like you're saying. That's when the clearing will really happen, when you start trusting your intuition, like, what is this thing really?
mhm.
How is this connected to you?
Yeah.
What are the kinds of thoughts that you're having? What do you know about yourself? What's the dark quality of yourself? Or maybe this could also be something you took on to take it away from someone else. Like we do this as mothers, and now it's kind of with you, soul fragments, things like that. So I think that you will certainly have more information if you do our boot camp, and or getting a session with Indy or with me to get to the bottom of this.
Yeah.
Another person who's really good is Carl Mollison and his people in removing. But if you really want to know more what this is about, I think a session with Indy or me for us to look at this together, because
Yeah.
the more you understand, the more you relax around it, the more you either give it what it needs, or do your healing so that this relationship can conclude. So that's a very long-winded way of saying all the, many of the
Yeah.
possibilities that could be there connected with this, and just how complex it can be. But it doesn't take 20 years for you to be able to release this thing. It might be one session or a few sessions, or, as you're going through your growth and suddenly you're going to have an understanding of what this is for yourself, and how to release it. Okay. So you have some
Yeah.
options here and some various supports that you could do.
It's super important to evaluate the labyrinth in which it resides inside you, because it's not
Exactly.
just an entity.
No,
There's so much more.
there's a relationship.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, it
Wow.
didn't just happen to come to you because you were at the beach one day and somebody looked at you the wrong way. This one is
Mm-hmm.
something to learn, and it's part of your initiation. So it's like not even to be afraid, but just to like face this with courage and be like, oh, what is this? This is going to unlock something to my soul, release something from lifetimes potentially. That's your
She added
option.
another comment, Marguerite. She said, I'm doing that and revocations every day. When I take a bath, it gets crazy. It says things like attack the mother, haunting and haunting for power, power, power.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
that's showing you there's some power karma for you there.
And to
And
look
that,
within the mother and the maternal connections.
yeah, like
Mhm.
we would dissect all of this, or you and Indy would dissect this so that you have conscious understanding of what this is, how it hooks into your own transgressions and wounds, how it hooks into your well-meaning stuff that you took on that you didn't need to, various things like that. Okay. So it's perfect because this is a great example because I know in a few of our sessions, we're going to be looking at these situations for people, right? To help them get their own releasement program going on, right?
Yes. And it is different for every single
It's
person.
different.
Mhm. And the thing is to just don't fear it, because when
Yeah.
you
Don't
fear it,
fear
you're
it.
giving it power.
Yes.
And you don't want to give that power. I mean, you want to give power to your own divine will, your own divine knowing, your own divine commandment, your ability to master your own field, your spiritual boundaries, which you do and
Mhm.
don't allow.
Mhm.
So yeah, you have to kind of pull it back into that space and get balanced and in alignment with yourself.
That's right.
Um,
And two
and
other options, calling on Yeshua and Mother Mary, who are exorcists. And I'm going to be talking about that in the Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp. Ask them for help as well as insight. Go into meditations, ask for dreams about this. Ask for the information about what is this being, how and why is it connected to you? What does it need? What do you need in order to release this and move on?
mhm. You're not a victim to these things as much as you think that you are. You're not
Yeah.
powerless to these things. And that's what we want to encourage
Yeah.
with this, with everyone. Like everyone who's coming into this is going to be empowered, um,
Yeah.
beyond those victimizer programs, even against
Right.
the spiritual, the astral infiltration, the negative entities,
Yeah.
even abduction,
Yeah.
even gang stalking. I might even cover this. I told you, Marguerite, to some degree.
Yeah.
Um, you're not a victim. You have tools to build your ability to have psychic self-defense against psychic attack. And it's work just like anything else,
Hmm.
so you can kind of deviate off of your path of all the other 10,000 things you got going on to take and zero in on the development of what does your psychic self-defense strategy look like, right? Because as we exist in the spiritual battlefield timelines where this is the norm, this isn't it might happen, it could happen, no, expect it to happen. This is what's going to happen. When you can put that cap on and navigate from that place, I expect this, so I'm prepared.
Hmm.
Be prepared by comprehending, what does your multi-dimensional anatomy look like?
Yeah.
How does this operate? How does this function?
Hmm.
Um, Self-checking your physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, soul layers. So building and strengthening the integrity of these bodies, the core sustainability of your interconnectedness. Um,
And this is critical, everything you're saying, because having awareness of these levels and layers of selfhood, of human beingness, is part of the ascension into the fifth dimension and beyond. We have to understand and have these visualizations and be able to start sensing and seeing these elements so that we're not just buffeted around by whatever's coming through the TV. Um, and it's even like you were saying,
oh, and to speak on the TV real quick, Marguerite, not to interrupt you, but
yeah,
when we talk about psychic attack, I'm telling you, one of the biggest psychic attack psyopses over the collective that nobody's aware of is, um, I think it's connected to the Malak entity, but it's through your childhood fears. A lot
yes,
of the most major hauntings and reoccurring, like astral infiltration, um, soul possession, and just limiting and connected to the enslavement programs is being incepted through media, cartoons, movies, Hollywood, scary movies. The
Yeah.
whole scary movie thing is an MK Ultra program. It just is, because it actually rips open dark portals,
Yeah.
and implants it into the collective, and especially young children. If young children are exposed to scary movies from
Yeah.
young age,
I
they're
know.
already like inundated with the
Right.
darkest, gross entities. Like, um,
Right.
I know a guy who's actually a film writer for scary movies in Hollywood. And we had to do a draconic reptilian, like deep, deep entity removal and clearing for him. And it was extensive because of what he was open and exposed to all of his
Wow.
life from writing those movies.
Yeah, thinking he's just being a creative writer, right? Not knowing he's doing the bidding of these, negative forces. And that's what happens a lot in Hollywood and everywhere, where you're bringing forth, you're allowing yourself to be a creative vehicle, be it through the sciences or whatever, the arts, for these negative energies. I mean, that's why people need to start looking at, what am I bringing forth? What am I bringing through? And I mean, yes, okay, you and I are choosing to take a moment and talk about these things and teach about these things, as part of the work, because again, we're in duality. It's always going to come up. So how do we deal with that more troublesome side of existence? That's what we're talking about here. It's not like we all just want to be continually focusing 24/7, but it's a very
But yeah,
interesting.
but there's time to cultivate that
Yeah.
mastery. You
Yeah,
have to take time
there's
to cultivate it. Yeah.
yeah. And a number
The
of
the
years
more
ago,
understanding of the forces of polarity and the pairs of opposites,
yeah,
and also the interfacing with the negative, the negative basically, and the
yeah,
agendas within that. Yes. We have to have a more accurate assessment of the reality in which we live in. It's about getting rid of the denial. This
yes,
is what
about
yeah.
that's what it comes down to. Absolutely. Because years ago, 10, 12 years ago, when I started Seven Sisters Mystery School and I was in the Bay Area, a lot of people did not want to deal with this topic. And, I was coming into it. There was not a whole heck of a lot of people around dealing with it. And I would be so mad. I'm like, look, we need to collectively deal with this. I can't be the one who's always carrying and speaking about shadow energies at this ritual and that ritual. We all have to like awaken to this. This is not about a love and light fest, just right. And as the years have gone on, I've encountered people like you and the work of Lisa Renee and Z and others. And it's like, oh, thank goodness, I'm not crying into the wind, carrying this banner for we must take and pay attention to the negative side, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not about like, oh, is this going to come and affect me? Well, it already is affecting you. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
we just went through 4 years of hell around this. Uh, right? I mean,
Are we going to continue to not speak about it and just act like
yeah,
it's not happening?
that's right.
What can we do? If it pins a perception of us and puts us in a corner in someone's angulation or whatever it is, so be it, because we're
Right.
speaking from our heart and we're speaking the truth.
Yeah.
And so the people who resonate with that and the people who are aligned to it, the messages will be received, and it's path work, it's weaving work at the same time. So it's not lost or forgotten, it's installed.
Yeah.
We're installing it into the lattice of light.
That's right.
Um,
That's
mhm.
right. And guess what? Yeshua and Mother Mary and Magdalene and all those people were doing. What do you think 40 days in the desert talking to a certain being was all about? What do you think getting hung on a, piece of wood was all about? They were dealing with these energies left, right, and center. It's all over the sacred texts. It's all over these Bibles and so forth. So they were here precisely because of this. Precisely because of this. And that is what we're going to get at in, the module where I talk about the sacred Sophia Christos family.
Yeah. It really just feels like this is at the core of our wisdom.
Mm.
It's so much so, of course I'm going to prepare and I'm going to, but I could really speak generatively, that's even a word, just from my soul,
Yeah.
just from my experiences, um, and feel like it would be a full roundabout transmission
Yes.
that could really help others, you
Yes.
know.
Absolutely. I mean, let's put it this way. In some senses, the dark is your greatest teacher and initiator, even more than the light, in that paradoxical way. And that's also what this Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp is all about, because I respect these beings who have taught me. I respect my time in the hell realms of my medicine ceremonies. Do I want to go
Yeah.
back there? Well, no, not really. But uh, you know, and they have taught me, because without the darkness, Sophia is nothing. She's not complete. You have to have the knowledge and the embrace of the negative and the positive to be that ascended individual. Mother Mary, Mary Magdalene, Jesus, none of them got to the next rung of their ontological spiral without dealing with these energies in big ways. Personally and collectively, they went through their personal hell, and they went through, watching the big collective, and they're still guardianing our earth plane, going, yeah, come on, wake up. I'm here to help you with your childhood wound, and I'm also here to help you awaken to what's going on, and here's some tools.
So, what do you think we should touch on then? Kind of just bringing everything full
Yeah.
circle, um, bringing
Yeah.
everybody back into just the center point of this conversation, which we have so many things to touch on. I mean, we can just generally flow. I mean, we could flow and flow and flow into this because it's just, again, at the core of the reality of what we deal with on a daily basis. I said,
Yeah.
even just going to the grocery store,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Leaving the house,
Right.
then the psychic warfare just interdimensionally. So, um, what do you think is a good note to leave people with
Mm.
here?
I think
Uh,
just empowerment, which is the year word that I was given when I did my oracle transmission at the very end of December for this year. The word was empowerment. This is your year to gain greater empowerment, to work with that, to know that you're empowered, to acquire means that help you to feel empowered. And I think that's what we're doing with this course and everything we do and everything you do, Indigo. And what do you think? What do you think is a good, like, still point place to help bring people to?
I was just thinking about it. I was just thinking how we went, in so many different directions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just excited. I'm excited about this course. I'm excited to be transmitting from a place of my core and from wisdom. I'm excited to paint a new pathway of divine feminine spiritual leadership, and go through the resurrection of the matriarchy, like that inner divine diamond knowing of our existence and as a female force, like what we stand for, and to just reactivate the flames
Yeah.
of, like you just said, empowerment. So yeah, this is a divine feminine 5D and above uh, empowerment course for the goddess, and to awaken that inner warrioress. Again, not condoning any sense or sort of physical violence whatsoever,
Mm-hmm.
as you know, but clearly we've transcended this, but we
Yeah.
do have to, I think we can train in the art of interdimensional warfare.
Yeah.
And we can master ourselves here. And it's in so many ways. Yeah, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. When I say physically, I'm also alluding to like health, your overall health. And um overall, I think it's about changing our perspective and our mindset to not see yourself as weak.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
right.
not
That's right.
weak. Yeah, you have the tools to face the challenges.
And work
Um,
with fear in different ways, as an ally and not as a force of diminishment and attack, not to get overwhelmed by fear. That's a big thing. That's a big thing.
yes. Yes, so many
Um,
people fear. You can't fear. A warrioress does not fear. Okay? We have to take on that belief and that mindset.
yeah,
Um, even though we know we're still probably going to encounter it, but
mhm,
we have to believe.
yeah,
Our belief is our will, and our will is our commandment, and our commandment is our knowing. And through that, we slice away all darkness.
yeah,
And yeah, it's we're doing it, girl. We're rising up.
yeah.
We're sharing this
And
message.
or
I'm so excited about it. It's a
yeah,
good
and or
time.
integrate the darkness. That's the other part of it, integrating, right? What does it mean to really integrate this darkness and become a whole light dark being, an archangel?
Do you think I should share our landing page?
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, in the link there. Yeah, for people to register. Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, guys. So if you want to head over to IndigoAngel222.com and go under the coursework tab, Goddess Spirit Warrioress Bootcamp. And here we have all of our class modules of what you're going to be learning. And descriptions of that. So you can take a look and see if the class days and times align with you. Um, but all of the information is here for you guys that you can go and, register if you would like to join us, which we would love you to join.
That's 4 days, February 1st through 4th. And you can watch it in replay. Once you buy it, you can watch it in replay. People can register up through the 1st, right, Indy? Or
I think we'll go to the 4th.
okay, to the 4th. Yeah.
Yeah, we might as well leave it open because I found people do like to join sometimes midway through.
Mhm,
That's happened a few
mhm.
times. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's going to be very exciting. We're gathering all the pieces right now, and I'm excited to see, as I said, what is going to emerge from each of us.
Yes, me too. Because
Mhm.
it's like you also don't know sometimes until you're in the moment, like
No.
what's going to come out of you. Because
Yeah,
that's the beauty of it all, isn't
exactly.
it?
Yeah, exactly. So yes, so we welcome you all to be with us and to experience this fascinating empowerment, this reclamation of feminine warrior history, and making it work for ourselves as for our spirit missions in this lifetime and this time now.
I wanted to ask you guys, put a big like on this video for us today as well. If you can, comment and just share this out if you guys are resonating with these messages. Um, and we got a lot of hearts.
Yeah.
Some people saying, I love you both so much.
Wow.
More hearts are coming in.
Mhm.
Core wisdom, empowerment, integration, self-mastery, and serving the goddess are the keynotes in your presentation for self. Thank you. Much love. Oh, you're
Blessed
so
be.
welcome. Thank you. Well, I love it. I guess we're gonna sign off then, huh?
Right. Sounds like we've
Okay.
come to it.
All
Bye,
right, everyone.
everybody.
Thank you for watching. Have a beautiful everything.
Yeah.